Hello and welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we are doing on Thursday evening. Joining me from down the street here in New York City, back from a brief hiatus, and with a special guest, is Tim Bontemps.
Hello, everybody. It's very nice to be back. We got a lot of really awesome wishes over the past week or so from everybody. Listen to the pod, which we appreciate. And we got young Mr. Bontemps here, and he's got a gift from some friends that we wanted to show you. Here, if you can see on here. You see that?
The Poop Collective. I love it.
Poop Collective, yes. Some friends of ours, including the Laugh Track, who I think longtime fans of the pod will know who we're talking about, sent that along for the little guy. So wanted to say hello to everybody and say thank you for all the super nice wishes over the past week. But we're doing great. Hanging out.
They got him a shirt, a matching shirt that they want Tim to wear.
This is just messed up because this is like a human shield. I can't really go after Bontemps. So he's got the cute little baby in his hands. This is wrong.
I think he just handed him off to mom.
Oh, sweet.
That rat right there is joining us from Oklahoma City. Oh, that's right. Joining us from Denver. You relocated. Joining us from Denver is MacMahon.
Howdy, partners. It is a pleasure to have Bontemps back. And I've been telling folks, this is like, when you those T-shirt cannons that are like circulars, like there's like two layers on the circular cannons, and you just shove all the little T-shirts in them, and then they start firing them off into the upper deck. Boom, 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 boom. That's Bontemps with his NBA takes. He's got the takes cannon loaded and ready to roll.
I think we finally had on a kind of a normal night in the NBA playoff world on Wednesday night. The Timberwolves. I thought for a minute the Warriors made a run in the second half behind Jonathan Kuminga being reanimated, but I thought for a second we might have another 20-point comeback. But order was restored and the Timberwolves tied the series. I don't know what to predict on that. I do, I don't know if how many close games we're going to get without Steph, but I do know this. ESPN Stats and Info tells us that the Warriors have a 92 offensive efficiency, 92 points per 100 possessions when Steph Curry is not on the court in the postseason. Ooh. And he is not on the court right now. And
have they given you Jimmy on, Steph off? Because Jimmy did miss that game. I don't imagine it's pretty, but I hope it's better than 92.
Well, I watched this game today, and Jonathan Kuminga came on to the court. He got some extra minutes off the bench as Steve Kerr. By the way, Steve Kerr, I wouldn't say he was searching. He played 14 players in the first half.
He played Jonathan Kuminga. He was absolutely searching. Are you kidding me?
He played 13 players in 14 minutes. I think that says all you need to know.
Anyway, Kuminga hit his first 8 shots, which is what led that brief flourish. The Warriors are just I don't know what they're going to do here. I mean, what they need to do is somehow find a way to win one game out of the next 3 to try to get it to game 6, which would maybe enable Steph to come back. That would be about, I think, 11 days off the injury. Who knows? I don't know how he's going to feel in 11 days. He gave an interview today where he said he's still very much in the rehab process. Forget about doing anything with basketball wise, and he doesn't know when he's going to be able to come back, obviously. But the conventional wisdom is if he can get to that 3-day break next week between 5 and 6, which means the Warriors can get another win. And I don't want to take. Maybe they sweep the games in I almost said Oakland, in San Francisco, but I don't like their chances. But if they somehow could do that, I don't want to take that off the table. But if they get one more win, they can get to game 6 and maybe Steph can come back. But who knows what condition he would be in when he came back. So the Wolves had to win this game tonight under the circumstances. They got off to a big early lead. Julius Randle had a great game, a double-double with, I think, 11 assists, 20 points and 11 assists. And Edwards maybe the most resilient physically guy in the league now. Like LeBron had to give that title up, and now Ant Edwards turns his ankle, gets leg whipped, gets rolled up on. In this game, got landed on his foot. Trace Jackson Davis landed on his foot. He couldn't put any pressure, barely on his foot going off the court. And we're in our group chat going, oh my God, is it a high ankle sprain? Is it a contusion? Is it worse? And we started the second half.
Of course he did. I mean, and honestly, he missed the last like 6 minutes and change of the first half. Usually he'll go back and it's like he's back in 3 minutes later. So the fact he missed the whole last 6 minutes is like, ooh, there's some mystery. There was some concern there. He came back in the second half. He was fine.
I know he is not shooting the ball well. I think he's like 3 of 20 on threes, 3 of his last 20. But without Curry, the Warriors, you don't maybe need A+ basketball from Ant Edwards. But the Warriors having won game 1 saved their bacon in this series, because that will buy them some time. All right, Bontemps, we've been waiting for a week plus to hear from you.
Have you been? I'm not sure that's true. I just was looking up stats while we were sitting here, and in tonight's game, in 34 minutes, Jimmy Butler, when he was on the court, the Warriors had a 100 offensive rating, which is not good.
Not good.
In the 14 minutes that Jimmy Butler was not on the court, the Warriors had an 84.4 offensive rating, which is really bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, it's like you said, Brian, they have to win. If they can win one game, they have a chance probably to get Steph Curry back for game 6 at home in San Francisco and give Steph a chance to do that. It's hard to bet against Steph Curry, right? But that game 1, the Wolves were just abject in every way. And in this game, like, they were okay. They weren't great. They were okay. And they dominated the game. So it's going to be a pretty monumental challenge for an older Warriors team with a already beaten up Jimmy Butler and not a lot of scoring punch. I mean, like you said, Jonathan Kuminga comes in and goes 8 for 8 and has 16 points right off the bat. And the game's still not that competitive. I think he's probably not doing that again. And the other thing we have to talk about too is this latest insanity with Draymond. Because the entire time I've been out, I've been watching Draymond.
Well, hold on,
essentially
before you go
every
to that,
game.
Before you go to that,
the USWB is just starting to flow.
I know.
It's all good.
I know, but
I know we're getting to it.
I just want to say one thing real quick, just because we're talking about Warriors performance. Stats Williams has this. So the Wolves did make 16 threes in this game, which is one of the reasons why they've been ice cold from 3-point range. They made all 16 threes were classified as open looks. The most open 3-pointers by any team since ESPN started tracking games in 2014. So if the Warriors are going to have any chance to win anything here, they're going to have to defend better. And that was really the reason they won game 1 was because of defense. I suppose Minnesota just being, they only gave up 88 points. I mean, they had to defend a little bit.
But
they lost game 1 because the Wolves were abject. The Wolves lost that game.
That's how Bontemps is back. The USWB's got a double abject, and we're just a few minutes in. Listen, I would like to know how many of those threes in game 1 were classified as wide open, because good defense is. You can say it's okay. Hey, they scored so many points. The other team, they held the other team to so many points. If they're missing clean looks at threes, that's not good defense. It's good luck.
Yeah.
All right. So on to Draymond. I'll go ahead.
Well, I mean, look, I've been home and at the hospital watching games for, I don't know, 10 days, last 10 days. And I think every single time I've seen the Warriors play over those 10 days, Draymond Green has either gotten a flagrant foul, a technical, or both. And these antics today in the second quarter were unbelievable. First of all, the guy elbows Naz Reid in the head. It is an obvious technical foul. Hold on, just let me get through it.
It's the exact same thing he did to Fred VanVleet in Game 7.
Exactly.
You get fouled, you flail, you smack the guy upside the head. Dude,
That's right.
You can't do that.
Again, by the letter of the law, that's a technical, not a flagrant.
Because it's a dead ball.
But it happened when it wasn't a dead ball. It would have been a flagrant.
Right.
And both of those flagrants would have gotten him suspended. Not the actual, not the act of the flagrant, but the
he'd have enough flagrant points.
He'd already be at 4 flagrant foul points. So he flails. He elbows Nasri in the head. The most obvious, as you said, literal definitional technical foul ever. He stomps to the bench. Can't believe why they're reviewing it. Doesn't understand what's going on. Tony Brothers, veteran official, reviews it for 4 seconds, says technical foul because it's a dead ball technical foul, as it always is. Draymond now has 5, as we have talked about. Man, you are the master of all technical record keeping. 7 technicals. You then are suspended for a game. So he's already up to 5. You have him then walk onto the court. Our friend of the pod, Tyler Ford, is standing there. He walks up to Tyler Ford and says to his face, "That's bleeping BS." To the guy's face.
Draymond might have to have another apology session with the Warriors teammates.
Well, hold on. I want to praise Tyler, Big T, Tyler Ford. I want to praise him. He's 5'3" in stature, but 6'3" in temperament. Now he's grown up before our eyes. Because if he was a wee little fella in this instance, boom, another T. Oh, well, that's 2. See you later, buddy.
Well, listen. I wish Tyler had ejected him because this nonsense with Draymond, I'm beyond over it. It's truly embarrassing the way the league has allowed this to fester to the point where this guy just walks around and acts like he is aggrieved every second he's on the court while he's committing a flagrant or a technical foul every single game, to the point where Stephen Curry has to come over to him and say, "Hey, man, I'm already out. We can't have you doing this." And then Steve Kerr has to take him out of the game because they think he's going to get himself thrown out of the game in the second quarter. Like it's 9 years since this guy cost his team a title in 2016. And we are still dealing with this absolute garbage on a day-by-day basis. It's a joke, and the league has allowed this to turn into a circus where this guy can threaten the refs and domineer at the refs and do whatever he wants. And when he gets one technical, he knows that they're not going to want to throw him out of the game because they want the best players on the court, which is a admirable goal for everyone to have. And then he just acts like a crazy person. And I'm so tired of it on every level.
They want the best players on the court unless it's a 51-point margin. And Nikola Jokic says, "I'm going to take a shot here. Get me the hell out of here. I know I've got 5 fouls, please." Listen, man. Oh, it's good to have Bontemps back. Wendy, did you see those T-shirts? They were landing high in the 300s. Folks in the nosebleeds, you better be ready. They're coming to you. Those takes are getting fired. But this is a good, strong take, Bontemps. I can't even disagree with you. To act like this is, I can't believe you're reviewing this. Bro, you flailed and smacked a guy upside the head, which was the exact same thing you did to Fred VanVleet in Game 7. Like, what are we even talking about here?
Nonsense.
And this guy, like, dude, it's not an if Draymond's going to be suspended during his playoffs. It's when. Because I don't think he can. I don't know. Maybe the only way I'll be wrong is if Golden State loses in 5. Maybe he can go 3 more games without getting at least 2 more Ts or
2 more flagrant foul points.
Yeah, 2 more points, maybe. But the numbers aren't in his odds.
The guy has 7 flagrant foul and technicals combined, flagrant foul points and technical fouls in 9 games.
It's ridiculous.
But he did apologize. He apologized to the team. Yeah, after the game, Steve Kerr was asked, "Hey, was this disappointing?" You know, he'd shown poise the last 2 games. And what did Steve say? You haven't heard what he said because I just listened to it while you guys were going back and forth. What do you think he said? I'll bet. Just guess what he said.
I'm sure he excused it away.
Draymond's passion is part of his greatness. That whole crap.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah, he excused it away. The Warriors have been excusing this away for years. This guy sucker punched his teammate, and then his teammate was turned into the villain. So, look, I give up with this whole thing. But I just that entire all those histrionics in the second quarter were a joke, and the whole situation is ridiculous. And every single game now, we're talking about every time the Warriors play, we're talking about some incident with Draymond and something like this happening, and he's constantly acting like it's everybody against him.
Well,
And
and again,
when is that going to stop?
Draymond absolutely, like, yes, Draymond helped hang 4 banners. That can never be taken away from him.
100%.
But dude, come on, man. Like, it's every single game. And you managed to come back and you beat the Rockets, but your antics throughout that series were a distraction and were a problem. And honestly, I thought he should have been tossed in game 7. This thing where you get fouled and you're embellishing the contact, but you're doing it with your elbow or your forearm upside the guy's head. Dude, I'm sorry. That to me, it's a flagrant 2, or it could be considered, like, I'm sorry, that to me is an objectionable offense.
Right. By the letter of the law, it is a dead ball technical, which is why they keep calling it that. However, it is a flagrant act every time he does it. And look, these playoffs have been amazing. I've been ready to talk about them for 10 days. It frankly makes me angry that we spent all this time talking about Draymond, but we have to because it's a joke.
Draymond has just commented.
Oh, great. What'd he say?
Well, okay. What do we got?
I'm going to listen to it again here to make sure
Well, while you're doing that, all I will say is MacMahon and I, well, MacMahon was working at ESPN. I was working at the Washington Post. So I wasn't quite here yet. Back in 2016, we were in Oklahoma City for Thunder Warriors. And that entire series, we spent going to morning shoot-arounds and practices talking about the placement of Draymond's foot in relation to Steven Adams' private parts.
Which led to my favorite quote that I've ever heard, which was, "It's not that big a target, mate."
I knew what you were going to say before you said it, because that whole playoffs is incredible, and that quote was right near the top of the whole list.
Steven Adams is a just obviously an all-timer, but that to me is the best. I don't know, that or the one he gave to Windy about his hometown smelling like farts. Those are the best Steven Adams quotes.
Well, and I missed a lot of those that first round, but it was great to see Steven Adams back and playing great for the Phase 3 Rockets. That was very fun to see. All right, Brian, we've filibustered enough, I think, for you to listen to this. So
I have a great family. I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to keep making me look like an angry black man is just crazy.
God.
And then he walked away. And then he just walked away.
You know what? Go away, Draymond. Shut up, dude. Do not play victim here. Don't play the victim here. Stop doing
But I'm sick of it. It's crazy
and stupid
I'm
stuff.
tired of it.
We're sick of you doing stupid, flagrant crap on a regular basis. It's not an agenda. Draymond, you get break after break after break after break after break, and you keep on pushing the line. It was not an agenda to make you look angry when you punched your teammate in the face. It was not an agenda to make you look angry when you grabbed Rudy Gobert and put him in the sleeper hold. It was not an agenda to make you look angry when you punched or smacked, or whatever the hell you want to call it, Yusuf Nurkic upside the head. Dude, and then, this is why, honestly, I love Ohm. Ohm is great at his job, but when Ohm came on here and talked about, like, the kinder, gentler Draymond, and he's really embracing this counseling, Draymond is full of crap. He's so full of crap, his breath stinks. Like, what are we talking about here, dude? Please.
Steve Kerr, the end of the Steve Kerr Draymond quote. The competition is so meaningful to him that occasionally he goes over the line. And by occasionally,
like
we
almost
mean
every game.
Yes, I was going to say, by occasionally, we mean what occasion a game. Just enough to keep him on the court.
Why is Draymond the only one in these playoffs when every time there's a foul that he wants to embellish, he ends up smacking the defender upside the head? Why is he the only one? Am I missing, like, this rash of forearms to the head of guys who just commit a foul, a little touch foul out on the perimeter? Have I missed the rest of them, or is this only Draymond doing Draymond.
I would say, to wrap this up very succinctly, if there is one common denominator over a 10-year period in dozens of instances, and it's the same person every single time, perhaps it is not an agenda. Perhaps.
Well, I just look forward to the next Draymond podcast where he whines and cries and complains about how everybody's out to get him. I mean, this honestly,
Maybe
dude,
it'll be tonight.
he's embarrassing himself. This is an embarrassment. We all have eyeballs. No one's trying to portray you as something. You're doing this. You keep doing stupid things that hurt your team, and you refuse to take any accountability, and you're going to get suspended, and your team's going to lose that game, and then you can go do a podcast from Cancun,
Well,
which we should have a live show there sometime, by the way.
listen, if we're going international, and I'm speaking to my followers, not followers, that's strange. Our listeners.
Wow. The cult leader here.
Freudian
That's going to say.
Freudian slip. Bow down before me. If we're going to go international with a live show, it's going to be to Manila.
Okay, let's go.
I'll go to Manila.
My Filipino friends. It's a long flight, Jackson. It's a long flight.
Yeah, but you can probably get us PJ.
I'm guessing that's going to be a big topic of conversation on the shows tomorrow. This is how I'm thinking. I'm now on Get Up and First Take tomorrow.
This is going to be the only topic tomorrow.
Hold on. That was a subtle. He's become subtle with these. That was a subtle Windy Sleep update.
Yeah.
Go on.
It's actually not too bad tonight because the game didn't go so late.
And we just had to wait for an hour for McMahon's technical difficulties. the young king almost didn't make it to the pod because of how it took him to get set.
And there was an Uber trip. I was
That's all
just
right.
Eating pizza.
Anyway,
enjoying some basketball, some Nuggets. Folks.
Anyway, let's get off of Draymond and talk about fun stuff.
Lordy.
All right. I don't know how much fun it is. So Jason Tatum did speak today after he didn't speak last night because there was the fire alarm. I don't know.
Which was fitting for the Celtics situation.
Oh my God. What an absolutely fitting way for that train wreck of a night to end. You guys all getting ushered out of the building because there's a fire alarm that gets put off in the middle of post-game media.
Yeah. So I will say this about Tatum. First off, he spoke today. I mean, it wouldn't have been unheard of if he didn't speak today. There's 2 days off. I'll give him credit for that. And, he said, quote, "I take full ownership of the way that I've played in this series and can't sugarcoat anything. I need to be better, and I expect to be a lot better." He said that, I've been working really hard on my game and my craft and prepared to be in these moments to hit these shots. And it just hasn't happened the last 2 games, but you can't lose your confidence. So he is shooting, by the way, 29% in this series, 12 of 42 and a 5 of 20, 25%, which is exactly on pace for the Celtics because they're 25 of 100.
Wow. As we know. No, I was just going to say, as we know, the reason the Celtics are down 0-2 in the series is the introduction of my son into the picture, as you correctly pointed out last week.
I almost said his name, which is still secret. I almost said his name. He knows nothing but Wicks. He knows nothing but Knicks being winners. His only thing.
That's all he knows.
And
Lakers losers and Knicks winners. That's all. It's been a week, and it's all he knows.
Speaking of oh my gosh, you took like 12 hours of paternity leave. Anyways, speaking of the Knicks being winners, Windy, you've watched every second of this series. You covered everything. How much of Jason Tatum's struggles are just, hey, Tatum's off right now, like the shots aren't falling, whatever, versus the 2 big-time wing defenders that the Knicks went out and got over the last year and a half, OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges, the cojones factor defense player of the year, or at least defense player of the playoffs so far, because all he does is get steals to seal wins. How much credit do you give them versus saying, hey, Tatum's not playing well right now?
It's both. By the way, they had Bridges and Anunoby during the regular season, and Tatum averaged 34 against them.
Woo!
I know these games are obviously way more important, but it's not like, I mean, it's not like he has not been able to solve them. The Celtics are definitely playing poorly. They're definitely having some questionable decisions, and they also are on a preposterous cold streak.
I mean, guys, the Knicks didn't play well in either one of these games.
I know.
That's the crazy part.
That's how you fall down by 20.
Well,
You don't play
I mean,
well.
but it's like and even the comebacks that they had, like the Celtics again. I used the line about Draymond, like for several years now, we have had the same conversation about the Celtics over and over and over again, where they're just not quite consistent enough. And so they get themselves in these spots and make their lives more difficult than they need to be over and over and over again. And they, in particular, kick away games at home and then come back and win on the road. They've done that over and over and over again because they go on the road, they lock in, they focus, and they play better. And in both of these games, all of the bad habits that we have talked about a million times all came up again. And that all comes back to Jason Tatum, their best player, who's a phenomenal player, deservingly a first-team All-NBA player. There's a reason his teams always do these same things. He's just not quite on the same level as the Nikola Jokic's, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders, the Giannis Antetokounmpos. MacMahon has called him a what?
Toast. Top of the second tier.
I mean, he's a phenomenal player, top 5 to 10 player in the league, but the Celtics are always just like a half a turn off when things are not going great. And it all comes back to Tatum. No, but I just mean,
except for when they cruised to a championship last year.
Well, no, but that's what I mean. When the Celtics are out front in open air, they're unbelievable. They look like the greatest team of all time. And when they get stuck in the mud at all, they run into trouble. And look, here's the thing. I think the Celtics are going to win this next 4 games in this series. I wouldn't be surprised if they win them all by double digits.
Wait, hold on. That tells me something.
Reload that T-shirt gun.
Hold on, I'll tell you. Hold on. I got to do a little investigative reporting. Bontemps, are you still on paternity leave from actually covering games? I don't think you're showing up to MSG with those kind of takes, baby.
I will probably be at MSG on Saturday. We will see. We'll see. K-Bon is pushing me to go be in the atmosphere at MSG, in part because she's mad that she didn't go to any games this year, and she is sticking it to me. But look, here's the thing: if the game is close with 5 minutes to go, if it's a clutch time game, it's a massive advantage for the Knicks.
Yeah,
because Jalen Brunson is the clutch player of the year for a reason, and
but
the
not
Celtics.
In the playoffs, but not in the playoffs. Go on.
Well, listen, whatever.
Go on.
And the Celtics, we have seen over time repeatedly mess up in those spots, including at the end of game 2, including in overtime in game 1. And like the Knicks are not as good as them. They were dominated by them, frankly, for the vast majority of the 6 games they've played this year. But they're up 2-0 in the series because the Celtics fell apart in the final 5 minutes of the game, and the Knicks have the best clutch player in the league. And that's the formula for the Knicks. If they can have it be close at the end, they're going to feel like they can win any game. And it's just a matter of whether the Celtics will allow them to do that or not.
Listen, things are going so well for the Knicks that when he's doing solo pods, being interrupted by amorous affairs in the hotel room next door, just chit-chatting about how great those Knicks are.
Amorous? That is not how you say that word.
Amorous?
I guess I can only assume.
Amor is Spanish for love. I know that.
Yeah, I think Jackson cut that out of the podcast, and now you've just alerted all of our listeners that I will just say that my neighbors in the hotel last night in Boston, I believe were Knicks fans. I can't say for sure.
Probably a safe bet.
Listen, although they might be efforting to get one of those little poop collective onesies.
After all the prices that they inflated the prices of those hotels, I think they thought, even if they're Celtics fans, they got to make the best of the evening. Joe Mazzulla was asked today. I thought this was a very good question. Because they're shooting so poorly, do the Celtics need to really lean into other things besides shooting because of variance. In other words, should you do something more than just shoot 3-pointers? And Joe Mazzulla said, we shot more free throws. We got 10 more shots than the Knicks did. We got 10 more layups than they did in game 1. We got 16 more offensive rebounds, and we got 25 points off turnovers, which is basically his way of saying there's no way we should be losing these games.
And how many threes did they take in game 2?
40.
40.
They were 15
Honestly,
for 60 in game 1. They were 10 for 40 in game 2.
Yeah, 40 is not an egregious number at all.
Well, here's the thing. They also are defending. They're defending.
Yeah, the Knicks are not playing well. The Knicks' offensive rating in these 2 games is 100. It would be worse than the league this year by 5, almost 6 points behind the Wizards. The problem is the Celtics' offensive rating is 99.5. It's like the Celtics imploded in the final few minutes of these 2 games. Like, it's, and again, we have seen this story 1,000 times this year. They were up 25-3 on the Cavs and lost. Right? Like, this is what they.
I don't know that we saw it 1,000 times.
I don't
win
mean
a lot of games.
Well, yes, but they go up by 20 regularly, and then they give the lead back regularly. They do this over and over again. This is what they do. They just go through very up and down stretches. And part of that is because they aren't a team that typically is really going to be attacking the rim. I think there's a reason why Mitchell Robinson's plus minus was as strong as it was. I thought it was weird, the amount of questioning of Joe Mazzulla doing the hack on Mitchell Robinson, I thought was weird. Like, when he's not in the game, we saw on that second to last possession when Jason Tatum just blew by Karl Towns and got about the easiest layup off a dead ball timeout that you're ever going to get in the final 20 seconds of a playoff game. Like, if Mitchell's not out there, there's no protection at the rim for the Knicks, and the Celtics should be able to get to the rim repeatedly with the amount of shooting they've got on the perimeter. Having Mitchell Robinson out there is going to change the geometry of the court, and he had a real impact in the game. And also, look, it really can't be overstated that the Knicks go into the switching defense, which Tom Thibodeau very rarely has ever employed. This is exactly why the Celtics got Kristaps Porzingis. And the fact that he is under the weather and dealing with this illness he's been off and on dealing with for a few months now, it's had a huge impact on the Celtics, because this is exactly the moment when they'd be getting him the ball in the mid post and giving them a plan B to attack teams with offensively. And without that, they then resort to a lot of this 3-point shooting, and it gets them in the same rut we've seen him get into a lot.
Yes, I just want to point out that as bad as you said about the offensive rating a second ago, as bad as they have shot the ball, and there's all these stats that say this is the worst 2-game run for Jalen Brunson and Jason Tatum. It's the worst 2 games of the season for the Celtics, blah, blah, blah.
I assume you meant Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. You said Brunson. I'm just making sure you meant. Yeah,
You're right.
I was making sure you meant them.
By the way, Brunson hasn't been good shooting it either.
No, I knew he hadn't been either.
Yes,
That's why
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Too many Jalen's in my life.
Not enough sleep.
That's right. They lost the one game by 3 in overtime and the other game by 1. So, but I will say this game on Saturday, the ticket prices are lunacy. The ticket prices here are lunacy. I was talking.
What's the get in the building price? Do you know?
It's currently $700 for the nosebleeds.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I talked to a guy today who paid $1,300 a seat, and he's like, I was actually pretty happy with that. I think I got a pretty good deal. And I was like, my God.
Like that, the Garden is going to be. I mean, you could make an argument this is the biggest game at Madison Square Garden in a quarter century.
I mentioned that on my solo pod last night. I was debating this. Alan Hahn, who covered the Knicks, he works for MSG Network now and ESPN, and he covered the Knicks for, I don't know, 15, 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
He said the 2013 series against the Pacers. I disagree. They got upset by the Pacers in the second round. I covered that series. After game 1, I was convinced the Pacers were winning.
Well, here's the other thing. LeBron James is on the other side of the bracket, right? Like, if the Knicks can somehow beat this Celtic team, which again, I think they're probably going to lose the next 4 games. But if the Knicks can win 2 more games and beat the Celtics, this was the team all year we said the Knicks have no chance to beat because they played them 4 times. They got smoked. So if they win, they go into the conference finals, they've beaten the Celtics. Everybody here, I'm not saying this is correct, but everybody in New York is going to be preparing for the finals. And that was not the case in 2013. They were going to lose to the Heat.
If the Pacers get 2 wins over the Cavs, 2 more wins over the Cavs, the Knicks get 2 more wins over the Celtics, the Knicks will have home court
in the conference finals.
Yeah. Jackson, I don't know if this is easy to look up or not, but earlier today, the Knicks were favored to win the series, but the Celtics were still favored to win the East.
I can look it up in BPI and see. There's been some weird stuff with BPI.
But
too,
this was on ESPN Bet
for betting lines,
which I know that obviously doesn't make sense, but I think it's indicative of how this series being 2-0 Knicks doesn't make sense.
Right.
And I think it shows that the sports books and the bettors don't know where to put their money either, based on the lay of the land here, because the Cavs and
the series is even.
Cavs and Celtics are down.
Ooh, but Celtics are favored for the conference title. Ooh, disrespect. Okay. Disrespect to old doing them big ball dancing.
So
Burton, that cruise.
But by the way, did you see that he didn't get fined?
Listen, I think that we should rescind all the fines that have been levied for that particular.
Yes, we know you're pro cojones. We know that.
So do you guys want to guess by ESPN Bet percentages what the percentages are for the Knicks and Pacers to win their respective series up 2-0?
Well, I think the Knicks are even, since Jackson just told us.
However, earlier today,
I'm talking about BPI, not in ESPN Bet. Talking about our internal numbers.
Yeah, well, BPI is not. I would not say it's the greatest metric ever invented.
Well, I'm just saying. What do you think it is?
Windy versus the Nerds. That's like, oh my goodness.
What do you guys think it is?
Talk about a pillow fight. I'm gonna guess Knicks are 45%.
The Knicks are an 80% favorite to win the series.
Okay.
And the Pacers are a 79% favorite to win the series.
I didn't even get to guess. Well, I was going to say 79. That's exactly what I was going to say.
I'm sure you were.
Actually, I was going to say 90. I was going to say 90 because to me,
it's the first time anyone's ever accused MacMahon of thinking like a computer.
I don't know what that means. I can't even get my computer to think for me enough to turn on the damn Wi-Fi.
Yeah, he's on his phone right now because he can't, because the IT department is not on the road in Denver and he can't get his computer attached to the hotel Wi-Fi.
Young Mr. Bontemps may have had more luck with the computer situation.
I hope your computer attaches to the Wi-Fi at Ball Arena tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say.
Big Ball Arena?
By the way, we got to see a lot of MacMahon and our pal Ramona Shelburne on the TV, which we sitting in the Bontemps house. We're happy to see them looking good.
A lot of compliments for that suit that I had on. Shout out to my guy Etiquette Don, takes care of me.
Here we go.
Sharp, yeah.
He had a pocket square in.
It's a built-in. Put right in the suit. Just give it a little yank and voila.
Of course, it's a built-in.
Of
course, it's a built-in. Everybody should know that this guy could not have a pocket square in his suit. You can't get on the Wi-Fi.
He was gonna look up the technique for folding a pocket square, but he couldn't get on the Wi-Fi to watch on YouTube.
But you know what I can do? I can watch YouTube TV while I'm in an Uber. I can watch a game sitting right in the back seat.
I know, but when I watch YouTube TV or when I watch any video in a New York City cab like tonight, it makes me car sick. I can't.
Okay.
It's too much.
Well, you know what else I can do? I can watch games sit right there in my airline seat. Oh, I've watched a lot of basketball sitting in an airline seat. Can you? I don't think so.
I'm not sure. I can't get this magical airline Wi-Fi that you get. You're like, oh yeah, I'm streaming all these games. I'm lucky if my texts
I'm with you. He's
through.
flying 2,000 feet to Oklahoma City from Dallas, so
That's
he's just
right.
got the 5G all the time.
I hate to tell you, boys, but I've flown to other places than Oklahoma City this year. Many, many other places, and I've watched many basketball games while I've been on those flights.
You've got something special going on because that I cannot. This is a whole nother world for me. People are allegedly streaming stuff on airplane Wi-Fi. However, the series that you are covering, MacMahon, we didn't get to talk to you last night because I wasn't waiting until 3 in the morning. I'm not sure what you make of last night's game, other than that the Thunder are still good.
Yeah, listen, the Thunder are still good. The Thunder aren't like they're not going over like it was a butt whooping, obviously. The Thunder aren't going overboard like, oh, that shows how dominant we are. Like they know, look, they played well, the Nuggets did, and the series is 1-1. The Nuggets got a split out of their trip to Oklahoma City. The Thunder still have to regain home court advantage. Now, I think it was a reminder that the Thunder are the heavy favorites in the series and in the Western Conference. And in this series, the majority of the time, the Thunder have led by double figures. They just blew a lead down the stretch of game one. And we don't need to go back over the ways that they botched the final minute of that, but they blew game one. Now, it was to me one of the most interesting things about this game two is Mark Daigneault was very adamant. The defensive schemes didn't change. It was the same plan. Okay. There was an adjustment though. Chet Holmgren was not the primary defender on Joker. And, he wasn't the only primary defender on Joker in game one, but he spent more time than anybody else on him. In this game, Hartenstein started off on him. They tweaked the rotation. Jalen Williams, Jay Will, the third big, came in early so he could bang with Joker, so he could take that matchup. And Chet was on him a little bit, but not much. That to me was a pretty significant adjustment. One that made sense. Frankly, I was surprised that Chet was on him as the primary guy in game one because you would much rather have him being able to roam and have the bigger, more physical guys dealing with the most physical task in the NBA, which is trying to keep Joker from getting to his spots. Now, having said all that, Joker's not going to, I highly doubt Joker will have another 6 of 16, 6 turnover type of performance.
No, look, those guys got what they needed in the first game. And
The
the
thing
Thunder
is,
came
I
back
think it
and
was
evened it up. That was fine.
5th game in 9 days for the Nuggets.
Yeah, tomorrow
6 and 11 for game 3. Yeah.
Yeah, they play 6 guys, 7 if they're lucky.
Yeah, it's
So
a lot.
It's
a lot to
not
ask.
surprising that they may be a little bit flat. So
this is not necessarily like basketball relevant, but it is pretty fascinating to me. The Russell Westbrook deal in the series. So when Russ first checked into the series, it was funny because he's sitting in the scorer's table and there's MVP chants. And it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was at the free throw line. But I'm kind of
Russ is like, they still love me here. They still respect me.
In my sarcastic little mind, I'm like, hey, they remember Russ won an MVP. This is cute. But then he checks in. The entire arena gave him a standing ovation.
I know. I heard about that.
Right? The entire arena is
cool.
on its feet.
It's really
like
cool.
a loud standing ovation. Like Russ is
really cool.
always going to be a legend in Oklahoma City. We all know his number 0 is going to be in the rafters right next to his white man can't jump partner, Nick Collison. But he was booed. They booed him in game 2. And he got into it. He got into it with one particular big, ugly, bald-headed, tattooed fan, feller named Big Rich, and Russ were going back and forth. Oh yeah. Russ was standing on. It was Big Rich's seats. Our buddy Big Rich. Winnie, you haven't met his acquaintance, but you don't have any need for the scholarship that a bar owner could give you. Bontemps knows him well. Anyways, his seats are right behind the Thunder bench, like 2 or 3 rows behind the Thunder bench. And Russ he was on the other side of the court. But this was early, like right after Russ had checked in, and they were going back and forth. They know, like Russ knows Big Rich a little bit. Like he's hard to miss in Oklahoma City. Anyways, they were going back and forth to the point where security came over to Big Rich, and was basically like, "Hey, you need to calm down." And Russ, right after the next time out, was coming over to inbound the ball, right by there. And he turned around and winked at he winked at our old buddy Rich. But that's Russ's way of saying, like, hey, I get it. I'm the enemy now. Let's go. But it's an interesting little subplot to this series. And Russ is a fascinating character. It has been a fascinating season, a roller coaster season for him in Denver.
Roller coaster
playoffs season, career, post Oklahoma City for sure. But if Oklahoma or if Denver's going to have a chance to pull off what would be a significant upset, Russ is going to have to play awfully well in 4 games. He did it in game 1. They've got to have 3 more of those type of performances to have a chance.
Well, the one other thing I'd like to see the Thunder do some more of too is we've already seen Lou Dort and Joker get into it multiple times in the first couple games. I'd like to see Lou Dort on Jokic a little bit more.
No, you don't. Why?
Two reasons.
No, you need him on Jamal Murray.
Well, 2 reasons. One, you have Alex Caruso, you have Case and Wallace, you have 17 other guys you could throw at Jamal Murray. I'm not saying you have Dort on him the whole game, but Lou Dort is a human tank and can stand up to Joker physically, and he's a pest, and we'll get into him, and we'll frustrate him. And I just think that having him on him for stretches of the game and just maybe getting Jokic off his game mentally a little bit is a wrinkle I would, if I was the Thunder, I'd be trying to throw at him.
The Clippers had some success in quotes, success with putting a smaller defender on Jokic and on switches, of course. And then they would sometimes bring late double teams, because if you double team Jokic early with 2 small guys, he'll pick you apart. But there was some success that they had.
Okay, but and when I say Joker had a down series, it's by 3-time MVP standards. It's by the standards of a guy who averages a 30-point triple-double. His numbers were down a little bit in that series. Why would you say it was the number 1 reason?
Zubats.
Yeah, you've come along in the pronunciation. Exactly. You've got to be able to put big physical defenders on Joker.
I'm not saying I have him guard him for 35 minutes of the game, but I just think having him on him for stretches, different points, to just sort of get into him and body him and be physical with him, it's something I would consider if I were them. That's all.
I think Jalen Williams, Will, the third big, served that purpose in game 2. And again, he went from barely playing in game 1 to being the first guy off the bench in game 2. I don't have the minutes in front of me because of my Wi-Fi challenges. I can't look it up right now, but he played a significant role. And it looked like the 5th foul the Joker got. What happened? He got upset because Will was getting into him. And look, and Aaron Gordon kind of spoke on this. Like, there were certainly instances of Joker getting called for the 2nd foul, the 1st foul not being whistled. And this was one of those cases where, even though I was surprised because they reviewed this, but Will, like, he was fronting him and being physical on that, like kind of boxing out almost, and then reached around and kind of hooked him. And then Joker did like a belly flop on top of him. I mean, it was a pretty violent belly flop. But again, it's being physical, it's being a pest, it's getting underneath him, it's getting on his nerves. And so I think they've got a guy who they can come in and do that. And then, like, for a 10th man, or 10th or 11th man, whatever the hell you want to say Jalen Williams is in the Thunder's rotation, he's really good. Like,
he's a really good backup big.
Yeah. Every time they tried to, every time the league wanted to fine him for sitting everybody, they got to have a triple-double and they'd win. But most importantly, in a series like this, he can be physical with Joker, and he's a 3-point threat. He spaces the floor, and it's just, it's catch, it's shoot. He's got a pretty quick release. But and so if you're going to leave Joker on him, you're spacing the Nuggets out. So I think that's a guy who's going to play a key role in this series, and he's going to do the things that you're asking them to do with Lou Dort. And I just think Lou is so valuable as an on-ball perimeter defender that you don't want to take him out of that responsibility.
All right, before we go, take a look at what's going on in Indianapolis on Friday night. The Cavs.
Corner.
We're not even going to mention Shea was a plus 51.
That was
34
pretty good.
Points on 11 of
Listen,
13
I was covering a game that was 91-90, and I saw the Thunder had 87 points in the first half.
Yeah.
Okay.
A record for points in a playoff half, by the way.
Shea was a big part of it. More to come on that. Cavs in a must-win game on Friday. listed their 3 injured players as questionable. They always list guys as questionable in the playoffs. I think it's questionable. They list them questionable, but I don't
We
think
saw this last year with Jared Allen. We've now seen him for a few games with Darius Garland.
right. Jared Allen, his reputation with the fans was damaged because he was listed as questionable every game of the Celtics series, and he didn't play, and it made it look like he was not willing to play through anything. And I think the Cavs were just trying to keep the Celtics off balance or off guard. I don't think it really matters, but they do have DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland listed as questionable. Garland has now missed over almost 3 weeks, and he first suffered the injury at the end of the regular season. This is a significant injury. I mean, if he plays on it, he's clearly not going to be anything close to 100%. I'm not sure. I have heard that Hunter's thumb has made the most improvement of the 3 injuries.
And I don't love this, like people pouncing on Darius Garland and basically calling him out. Like, dude, you haven't examined this injury. You don't know how bad it is. And to act like turf toe is not a serious thing, like people get surgery and get sidelined for months for these injuries.
The Pacers have played absolutely awesome basketball up and down their lineup. They have deserved to win these games. No, come on. Halliburton is throwing.
Brian, listen.
They
scored like 12 points in the first quarter of game 2, and they had to have a completely miraculous comeback because Cavs corner imploded. So
tinkle little star.
Game one, they were great.
Nembhard has been strong.
Yes,
Neesmith has been making plays all over the place.
Sure.
I mean, Nembhard had 13 assists in game 2. Halliburton hasn't scored a 37-point game. I'll give you that. But his shooting percentage is way up there. I
thought they were phenomenal in game 1. I just think the Cavs really outplayed them without 3 guys for the vast majority of that game and just imploded.
Well, they didn't play great in the first half. I'll give you that, but they were pretty darn good down the stretch. The Pacers.
They were, and the Pacers took it from them. Like,
they did. You know,
Neesmith had a lot to do that. Halliburton had a lot to do that.
100%.
The people in Cleveland are furious because in the last 2-minute report, the officials admitted they missed lane violations on the 2 rebounds that the Pacers got off of missed free throws in the last minute.
Well, look, the lane violations were bad and they should have been called. However, here's an idea for the Cavs. Inbound the ball.
Oh.
How about don't give up 13 baskets in the paint in the fourth quarter?
Well, that too, but just in the final minute of the game, just inbound the ball.
I can't believe Kenny Atkinson won Coach of the Year and he hadn't thought of any of these things.
Well,
Kenny Atkinson just said they were too exhausted to inbound the ball.
Well, and I will say
to get open, not to inbound the ball, just to get
in the
open.
stretch I was out, the Pacers had 2 of the 3 comebacks from down 7 with 40 seconds to go with a history of the sport, which is unbelievable.
The stretch you were out, blink and we missed it. God.
The way they play, and as frenetically as they play, and frankly, when they score, they're immediately keeping the other team from easily inbounding the ball. Like, it's a strategy that I think more teams should be trying to do if they can, if they have the ability to bodies-wise, because like we've seen it work twice in the last 10 days. Like the Pacers really can get teams out of sorts by just making them have to work for every inch of the court after they've played a long game and their guys are really tired. And, it's, obviously it's hard to put a lot of, planning out of a crazy comeback like that. But the fact that they did both of them, I do think there's some truth to the way they play having an impact on how these teams are playing in the last few seconds of games.
Definitely a strategy meant to wear you down in each game and then in a series. A lot of discussion has been involved about how poorly the Celtics have shot in the first 2 games. The Cavs have had their 2 worst 3-point shooting games in back-to-back games. Now they've got some shooters that are out, but Pacers get credit for that. But that's been shooting variance has been again. The Cavs have 3 key players injured, had their worst 3-point shooting games, and still were ahead in the fourth quarter of both games. And so
Ooh, is that your way of saying there's still hope in the land?
Yes, I mean, my belief. There's always time. I don't think there's a lot of excitement with the injury report, but obviously, if the Cavs lose on Friday night, that series is going to be cooked.
Well,
So
there's not a lot of time if Evan Mobley can't play. They desperately need him because, and here's the other thing I would say. I'm curious what your take is as the leader of Cavs Corner, Brian.
Ooh.
Your cult following.
Followers.
I do not understand why Kenny Atkinson is playing Isaac Okoro so many minutes. The Cavs don't. Well, no, but listen, you laugh at me. He played 29 minutes in game one. He took 2 shots. All right, like he's a nice on-ball defender who's a complete zero on defense, and the other team doesn't guard him.
You make a complete zero on offense, not a complete. You said.
I'm sorry, I said it backwards. He's a complete zero on offense, and to me, in this series, especially if Evan Mobley is not 100%, whether he plays or not, right? We've talked about it all year. Evan Mobley deserved to win Defensive Player of the Year, had a great year. Jared Allen, great interior defender, right? Really good defensive big. The Cavs don't really have any. You could argue they don't have another average defender on the team. They might have some average guys, but they're a pretty limited team, particularly on the perimeter. And
why do you say DeAndre Hunter is
DeAndre
above
Hunter
average defender?
He's not above average.
I don't want
to get into that. The point is,
well, hold on. Isaac Okoro is their other above average defender.
All right, that's fine.
Why he plays.
So you're asking why is he playing so much? You can't do both. You can't say they need more defense and then wonder why he's playing.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they're not going to be able to stop the Pacers anyway. So to me, they should be fully indexing on offense. Like Sam Merrill, to me, is a adequate defensive player who can light it up from three. He's one of the few guys who hit shots in game one and in game two.
Jackson, I need some research assistance. What's Sam Merrill's plus minus in this series? And what's Isaac Okoro's, please? Thank you.
I mean, I don't really care what his plus minus is. He was on the court the entire fourth quarter as the game imploded, and they had most of the time they were running out of gas on offense. Like, I just don't think he should be playing. He should not be a featured player in the series, is what I would say. He should be a bit player at best because the Cavs are going to have to win the series on offense.
That's all fine. They're not losing this game.
They're
not losing the series because of Isaac Okoro.
If they would defend better in the fourth quarter in game two, the series would be tied.
Well, and he was out there the entire time, so maybe they should have scored some more baskets. I don't know. And yes, they do have adequate defensive players. I misspoke before, but the point is they're not an overwhelming defensive team outside of their 2 bigs. And if one of the bigs is compromised, if not out, to me, you've got to be going all in on offense because the Pacers are going to score. They don't have the horses to slow down the Pacers. So play Sam Merrill even more than they did. You got to get Ty Jerome going. Got to have Max Strus keep shooting.
Ty Jerome
Donovan
going.
Mitchell.
That's an understatement.
I mean, that to me is what the Cavs have to lean into.
Hold on, that thing just flashed at the bottom of my screen. What was that? What were those plus minuses? Can you read those?
Sam,
you can read them.
Sam Merrill. It's off his screen. He can't get it back. Sam, he's on his cell phone. Sam Merrill is -10. Isaac Okoro is +4 for the series.
Oh, wow. It's almost like that's not the problem which one of those guys is on the floor. It's almost like playing Okoro is not the reason that they're losing the series instead of playing Sam Merrill. But I could be wrong, and so could like facts and things.
All right. The Get Up conference call is in 5 hours and
Windy sleep update.
23 minutes. Greenberg expects attention. Fridays on that call, I'm in trouble. So
listen, skin's looking good, hair's looking sharp. You got those big fat knots in the tie. You got a lot going on right now, Windy.
Yeah, I got a lot going on. All right. All right. Mr. Bontemps, we're so happy to have you back.
I don't know if I believe that, but
we're
nice
so happy.
I don't believe it. I don't.
We're so happy to have Master Bontemps, which I believe you call someone who's underage, Master Bontemps, the boy king, the boy king of the Upper West Side.
Well, once again, I got a lot of nice notes from listeners and people around the league, and everybody's been great over the past 10 days. So very much appreciate it. It's been very nice.
The
And
boy
everybody's
king
doing great.
of the
Have you
Upper
gotten
West Side
sprayed?
who only knows Knicks victories.
Hold on, we
That's
gotta
right.
I gotta do some reporting. Have you gotten sprayed yet?
What? Oh,
Have you
no,
gotten sprayed?
no.
Not
yet.
a one or a two.
Not yet.
Wait till you
Not
get
yet.
sprayed. Wait till you get sprayed with a curveball. Ain't nothing like that. That's when that's a rite of passage for a parent.
Yeah.
Not yet.
All right.
Knock on wood.
Whaley experiences the first blowout.
Yeah, that's right.
We have had some of those early.
And I ain't talking about what happened in
Yeah.
Oklahoma City.
not a thunder blowout. That's for sure. That's for sure.
All right. Thank you to Jackson. Thank you to MacMahon. Special thank you to Bontemps, and a special thank you to Young Bontemps and to K Bontemps. Thank you for watching and listening to the Hoop Collective. We will talk to you next week. Will the Cavs and the Celtics still be alive when we talk? We'll see.
Well, like the Celtics will be for sure. The Cavs,
Well, if they're down
might not
3-0,
be.
they're going to be dead. I'm going to declare them dead if
All
they're
right.
down 3-0.
The t-shirt
All right.
cannon's empty. Adios, amigos.
All right.